I go back to the Ty Lopez days when he was like the SMMA dude,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, my competition was all of Ty's students.
All of his students.
Oh, I've been screwed over, I've been scammed, I've been like, they don't understand the digital landscape and the speed and the amount of volume that's required. I'm gonna spend so much time color grading and adding sound effects and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, that's great if we're doing a commercial, but we're doing social media content. That thing's gonna be looked at for 5 seconds and then scroll past. You can't just jump on Fiverr and hire someone and expect to grow an agency that way.
What should they be focusing on in that transition from the first success to consistent success? Episode 2 of the D2C Paid Ads podcast.
I feel so privileged.
Thanks for coming in.
Dude, this is awesome. Franklin, Tennessee, man. You live in a beautiful, beautiful place.
Are you liking your trip so far?
They love it. Yeah, had an amazing time with my buddies. And now getting to hang out with the cool people after that. I'm like, couldn't have asked for a better trip,
Well, we've been trying to get on a podcast for about 8 months now, right?
Yeah, something like that. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
So I do have a few things I want to ask you. I have a few things that I want to run by. But the majority of the show today, I want to talk about creative.
That's awesome.
And how do you manage big creative teams? And then some of the stuff you're doing, I guess, with your company and that. So sound good?
Cool. Yeah, creative's cool, man. We're doing it right now. So it's
So give me a little rundown of the transition to where you were to where you are now, just to give a little understanding.
From like how far back?
Let's go 5 years back. Yeah.
All right, so 5 years back, I was still in LA. It's probably like I would say the peak of our team. Like we were actually like rolling a legit office with people, and it was just like it was a lot. But that's what I signed up for at the time, right? Working a crazy amount of hours, dealing with all sorts of personalities and ages, and I'll say that because it's really important. A lot of the younger generation are great at creative, and a lot of the older generation are decent at social creative, but they understand the corporate structure, a little bit more of like the operations that younger people don't really like or get. And so I would say, kind of answer your question, going from that to today is like, I've definitely changed the way I thought and what I wanted, which is interesting, right? I went from, how old was I? 26, 27 to like now 33. My wants and needs are a lot different. Having the big agency team and a big office, at least in the States, is now non-desirable. May that be because of a political climate or whatever. I just, I changed my mind. But yeah, man, it's good. It's good. It's cool to see, my business mind develop. I think from a creative agency perspective, I've like changed what I think the ideal situation is, which is kind of cool because by changing my mindset has been a little bit more profitable and a little bit better, efficiently ran, let's just say it, right? Where before I was just like burning cash. Like, let's make it big. Yeah, that's what you do. It's like,
so you're building it for some other reason, or wait, so you're burning a lot of cash. How's that different to now? Because you guys you guys have over 10 clients, right? So you're much bigger at scale now.
Well, yeah, we've actually used to have more clients back then, but smaller paying clients. And so it was a little different in the sense of like how many clients we needed to fulfill, as well as like the profitability, because you have more clients, bigger team, where now it's less clients, smaller team, more profits. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. I think that, I think I told you yesterday, I still want to kind of go back to the smaller ticket because it's less stressful. But now understanding operationally, like the efficiencies and like, having people that work for you in the States versus internationally, and what are some skill sets and what are some value adds, and, what are, I guess, would you say U.S. workers better for? Is it management? Is it?
So go down. So we don't have anyone that's outside of the U.S. I wouldn't say we speak down on it, but I would just say people do a really bad job at managing it. And I think the core of it is, let's get people that cost less overhead every month to achieve the same goal, which is great. I think that's a byproduct, but like, how are you making that transition working with people overseas, with people in your States team?
Yeah, you can't just jump on Fiverr and hire the first person you see, because that's usually going to lead to the low quality of contractor, employee, whatever you want to call it, right? And so if you think of it from have you vet the person? What has their work in the past? And you start obviously giving them little projects and then seeing how they perform, seeing what they're really comes to that responsibility, response time, deliverables, deadlines. Like, are they meeting these basic things? And if they are, cool. Then you think that you know that you can give them more responsibility. And how do they handle more responsibility?
Are you just sourcing these guys on Upwork and then giving them small projects,
honest,
or do you have an internal?
I found one person, and then from there I started like asking
Asking internally if they knew other
Exactly.
people.
Because if you think if one person's good, they're probably not going to bring someone shitty around.
Yeah,
They're probably going to be similar personality types, or
sure.
you know. So then, yeah, it's kind of the way it worked. And like I talked to you before, I'm like the conversation around Mexico City. Like I went there to go
Yeah,
see the team, to meet the team, to shake their hands, to sit down with them and have conversations. So I think that's still a play that's going to happen. But that's like more infrastructure. Like you're basically acquiring or you're merging with an agency that's already pre-built.
yeah,
And when you look at the case studies and the clients they work with, you're like, this makes sense.
yeah,
And like I told you, the price difference from the U.S. market to the Mexican market is like drastically different. So profitability is definitely there.
yeah,
So yeah, it's kind of like you can't just jump on Fiverr and hire someone and expect to grow an agency that way, because you're never going to scale an operation with like 10 Fiverr Indian or South American employees. Just like a lot of people do that, right? Or
yeah,
Philippines, right? Like it's just common. The better ones are a little bit more expensive. You're not going to pay $3 an hour.
yeah,
You might pay $8, $10, $12 an hour, but it's like what you get is well worth it,
yeah,
knowing the confidence that like they're going to take care of your clients. And I would even say there's something to the spirit of like an American versus the spirit of a South American or of a Filipino. Like they're not trying to be an entrepreneur in most cases, right? They're not
yeah.
trying to start their own agency.
They just want to get the job done.
They just want to do their job, get paid, and go home and have a happy life.
Yeah,
Which is like, if you think about the American mindset, it's like very entrepreneurial, very like, well, I could do this and I could do it on my own. I can make this much margin. So like, it starts to become a little bit more calculated. And so you have, I don't want to say people that work for you that get lazier, but people that like definitely, want the better deal.
yeah,
And, nothing against that. And I think because the internet's provided so much opportunity, good for them, like
yeah,
good for them to pursue their own deal and their own business. But if you think about it from a business owner's perspective, you're like, I need loyal people that are going to be with me for 5-10 years that are going to actually perform the task at hand and not do the client's job half-assed, thinking they could just go find other clients on their own, right?
yeah.
And so
So how do you cultivate that type of environment for people to stay
on the international side,
on the international
you
side?
have to build
Yeah,
relations with them. You have to like spend
yeah,
time with them. You can't just like, here's work. Like there's a lot of favors that these individual contractors have done for me just because I actually jump on Zooms with them weekly. I'm spending
yeah,
time with them, right? Of course, I'm not, and I've actually offered to fly out to some of these people, just like, hey, let's meet.
yeah,
And they're like so caught off guard, like, you want to come here and meet me?
yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to.
yeah,
And so I think that just treat them like people really gets them like, because they're not used to it. Like a lot of American companies use them as a tool to cut cost.
yeah,
At the end of the day, if you think of it as like they're another person that could potentially be vital for your team, and you treat them that way, they're going to feel different about it. Like, wow,
yeah,
Dean cares about me.
yeah, exactly.
So I think all that kind of really matters in that. It's not as, and see, here's the thing that kind of comes down to like in our space specifically, like you start thinking about agency owners that want to just make more money.
Yeah,
And their sole intention is to make more money. Well, they're going to probably try to hire someone on Fiverr and just
Yeah.
give them work.
and get that 90% profit margin.
Yeah, and not
yeah,
cultivate an actual team. And that's intent, right? Like if you have an intent to build a solid team that you're going to have around for 5-10 years, then okay.
Yeah.
You're going to treat it entirely different.
yeah,
But as we know in our space, it's very much like how much money can I make, how fast?
yeah,
And that kind of comes down to like circling back to the issue of the way the relationships start with these and you have a very good point of like not down talking the international hires, but like looking at it as like a cheap way to do work.
yeah,
For sure, there's like a part of it that it is cheaper to do the work out there.
yeah,
But the quality doesn't necessarily always reflect the price point, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that get paid a small amount, but will do phenomenal work comparable to the U.S. that get paid 10 times more, right?
And when I say when I talk down on people that hire internationally, it's not actually, if you really understand the core of it, I'm not talking down on the international workers. What I'm talking down on is the agency owner
Yeah.
himself that's outsourcing so he can make more profit.
Solely for
Like,
the reason of profit. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
The mind of someone in business like that is how much profit can I get from every single deal?
Yeah.
Very transactional.
I get it.
Yeah.
And I've seen
Yeah.
it. Like I've been around it. Like, dude, like I go back to the Ty Lopez days and I think 16, 17 when he was like the SMMA dude.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, all these kids, and they were kids. I was a kid too.
Sure.
I'm like, everyone's just trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
And they're going to shill. And so it's funny because I remember going out to the marketplace in LA specifically, and my competition was all of Ty's students.
All of his students. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, a lot of my conversations with businesses were like, oh, I've been screwed over. Oh, I've been scammed. Oh, I've been like,
Has
Holy,
it been from from a kid that's done X, Y, and Z? Like, how'd you
dude.
know? You're
I'm
like, I
like,
had a feeling.
yeah, just like I get it. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm trying to be in this space for a long time. I'm not just
Yeah,
trying to make a quick 100K and dip out and take your money.
yeah,
Like, I'm like trying to build my name in this digital marketing space. And so
yeah.
that was hard, man. Like when Ty Lopez made those students.
We're seeing it a lot more too, and then it's like the go high level trend. So now
Yeah.
go high level's gotten more and more,
Yeah.
I
People
guess,
are, yeah.
recognition. So people are now trying white label that and then become the expert.
Well, dude, it comes down to money making again. I was talking to one of the reps from Go High Level at this conference like not too long ago, like a month ago, and he was just like, "We're the highest paying software company for affiliates," and I think he gave me a number, like a crazy number per month or per week. It was like in the millions. So we're
Yeah,
paying out like this much per whatever, and I was like, jaw dropped. I'm like,
yeah,
that's why all these money making gurus, kids, whatever you want to
yeah.
call
They're
them,
trying to do
they're
affiliate
trying to
links.
do like
Yeah,
sell Go High Level,
yeah,
and it's like I use Go High Level. I use it for my clients. I don't sell
yeah,
it to them. I take the
yeah,
charge myself. Like I take that
yeah,
cost because it just provides more value, right?
yeah,
But like I know a lot of people that like they buy Go High Level and that's all they sell is Go High
yeah.
Level.
They
It's
go
like
high level and then they don't take the time to even understand the software to
or you
utilize it.
teach them or
Yeah,
they're just handing over the software to the person and saying use it.
yeah.
Business owners are going to use it. They're like,
They don't know how to do any of it. And then also
yeah.
you need to have internal training on how to, we won't even go down that rabbit hole. The one thing that we have a bottleneck for here in Nashville is finding good creative. So you mentioned you have people that work overseas and they have their roles. I'm assuming editorials, editors, stuff like that. How do you find local talent to record that? Because obviously you don't fly them in to record and all that.
Yeah.
So how do you have that core team? And then how do you, more importantly, what's the process to transition to get people to properly edit? So if you have the
Yeah.
two different people, how does that work
So
out?
I'll give you my experience, and this is actually where I started, where like I'd find young, super unexperienced editors or videographers, usually in college, and then I'd basically say, "Hey, you're gonna work with me. You get paid $15, $20 an hour, but you're gonna get so much experience. You're gonna be a beast, right?" And it was like my way of saying, "You're gonna have work,
Yeah.
right? Don't know how much it's gonna be. It could be like this some months,
Yeah.
but you're gonna get work. You're gonna get paid hourly, but you're gonna edit a shit ton. And guess what? It doesn't have to take 5 or 6 hours to edit one 30-minute clip. It's gonna take you an hour to edit five because it's social content. We need 30 to 40 pieces per client per month, every single month. And so you think about 15 clients, it's a lot of content they have to edit through, right?
Yeah.
So I tried that. You burn them out very quickly.
Yeah.
It becomes very difficult for them to stay creative because it's like the sheer amount of volume. Do they become good editors? 100%. They leave like
Based on experience and volume of editing.
exactly. They can like go out and
But how do you stop that burn rate for
you
creatives?
hire more videographers like that. The issue
Okay.
is they are hard to find. And I think right now it's a little bit easier than back then. I think this was dating back to 2018, 19. I think there are a lot more of them in the marketplace now that want to do this, that are young and in college or like that are just don't have a job yet.
Yeah.
That can. But you know, you definitely should hire more because it's a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you start to, you know, you have one guy that came in and just you started training them and they get burnt out, man. They get creative.
Yeah.
What do you
Creative
brain fog.
fatigue?
Yeah, creative fatigue.
Yeah.
And then they're like, then they start questioning, is it worth it? And then, you know, from a business owner's perspective, you think, well, like, you're working on your own time. You don't really have like a clock in, clock out. So you think of the value exchange is there, right?
Yeah.
But for sure, that's an issue I faced with early on hiring just like young, unexperienced creators. Then you go the route of more experienced, right? And just a lot of times when you have an older editor, videographer, creative person, they don't understand the digital landscape and the speed and the amount of volume that's required. And most times they don't even consume content. So you can't really expect good creatives that are valuable in Instagram or TikTok, particular places, right? Like they don't consume the content. So they're just like, I'm going to spend so much time color grading and adding sound effects and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, that's great if we're doing a commercial, but we're doing social media content. That thing's going to be looked at for 5 seconds. And then
Yeah.
scroll
You need
past.
quantity.
Yeah, it's volume, right? And
Yeah.
there's something to say with a combination of quality plus quantity. But I'm one to believe that it's more about quantity because it's reminders. It's constantly.
Just speaking output, that really matters.
Yeah. And so, you know, so you have like the young creative, then you have like the more experienced creative. And then what ended up coming out to for me that I felt was really I guess the best way to go about it is like you have local videographers that just shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could find day rates for $250 to like $500 to up to $1,000 for just a day shoot, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever that case is, right? And if you have a solid editor that understands social content in the US market and you have that ability to scale volume, then you're pretty much good, right?
Yeah.
You can shoot, we talked about Nashville or New York. I'll find a shooter.
Yeah.
And so really I've started building SOPs around that process where it's like you have your shooter and you have your editor. Sorry.
Whoop.
And then the editor is pretty much responsible for the output shot list, right? The shooter is just like, here's your shot list, get it done. And so that process I think has been and probably is the best strategy because you're basically leveraging international editing, which to be honest, a lot of them are really good. I don't know how many times you've been DM'd by international editors that say, hey, let me do a free piece for you.
Yeah.
But it's usually really, really good. And I'm like, impressive, man. But they watch content so they understand. You know?
So if you give them an SOP with direction, it doesn't matter the editing style.
They're going to figure it out.
They'll figure out the right style as long as you give them the backing.
Here are the core concepts, right? The shot list.
Yeah.
Here, follow the shot list. Here's all the content. And is there a little bit more time in uploads, downloads, transfer files, all that? Yeah, there is. But that's like a small, price to pay for the overall outcomes, right? And I'm not to say that my way is the best way.
Yeah.
There's for sure other agencies that have an in-house.
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing a lot more of them being hired, contracted in, but there's upsides. You can have your boss watching the edits every single day. And there's not, oh, this came out terrible, go redo it. It's like, oh, I was with them with the whole process. And I think there's clients for that, right? There's the Sonys of America that they need 30 pieces of content and they need to be done perfect.
And then there's the ones that they're not doing anything and anything could help them.
Exactly. There's a local restaurant or law firm that's like, we haven't put out anything besides a Canva
no one
graphic
knows
in
who
the
we
last 2
are.
months.
We're not aware. Our demographic doesn't know anything about
they're
us.
putting out shit, right? They're putting out graphics that are just like
stock graphics.
Yeah, and it's terrible for their brand. So you can go, and that's kind of like the ideal target client that I like is like, hey, you're doing pretty bad on there, or not doing anything at all.
We can make the quality better, and things might improve just on baseline.
Exactly. So that's on the creative conversation. That's like definitely my idea of the best strategy. Mm-hmm. You're not hiring overpriced production specialists that are like coming from the film industry or entertainment.
Well, what we did was, so as a media buyer, creative's everything for the results, right?
100%, yeah.
So how do you bridge the gap of getting good creative and not having that delay of, oh, we need these edits and everything like that? Or even just down to like, I don't think it would be smart to separate brain power under one person. I think one person should handle creative, and I think one person should manage the budget. Mm-hmm. But if they can come together and synchronize together with every campaign, ideally the outcome would be very good. So we just went about the way of saying, hey, we're not going to, for Q4, we're launching an offer, but the offer isn't, we now do this. It's, we found the person to be able to fulfill for you.
Yeah.
I guess where I was going with that is we just decided it's better. You can make an SOP, the process, do all that, but it's probably better in that in-between stage, just find someone that's already at that level and bring them on a partnership side.
Yeah.
Do you guys partner with any other agencies? Or are you seeing that in the future where it's like, it's probably just best to get the best for this and then we will pay the price, but the outcome will be a lot better?
I have a friend in Miami. He has a really successful agency. Shout out Lance. He has partnerships with a couple creative, production companies. Yeah. And I see it work really well for him. I see him do some really big campaigns, and they're not, I don't believe they're in full-time in-house. They have their own production teams. But yeah, I think it works great. I think for most media buying agencies or media buying teams in particular, that's going to be the best route because they're good at media buying. Yeah. So for you to say, I'm going to have to handle media buying operation plus production operation, you just brought in a whole other business you have to now manage. Exactly. Which is insane, and I would even say in the creative production side of things, there's two things within that category.
Pre and post production?
No, there's organic and paid.
Yes.
Honestly, in a production house, if they're good at content, you have to consider, are they good at organic or are they good at paid content?
Yeah, the structure is way different.
The offers, the way they structure the style. There's a couple, I think in Utah that I follow that are great media buying production houses. Mm-hmm. And so they make the best social media ads. Yeah. Could they do social content? Sure. But I think like, you know, when
You
you
need
start
an
to
in-house, or you need a organic content strategist to back
exactly,
that.
or also just like a
Yeah.
person specifically that's great at editing social content, right? That
Yeah.
doesn't need to do the full storyboard and the full, you know,
Yeah.
understanding the offers and the call to actions. Like
Yeah.
they just need to like understand brand themes and say, hey, let's make some content, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think within the production ecosystem, production specialists haven't even thought about like what the needs are for agencies, paid or organic, and saying, who do I serve and who can I serve more of and be really good at, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them are like, yeah, I can pick up a camera and shoot, but it's like, okay, well, if you're going to edit, what are your skill sets and what are you really good at making, right?
Yeah. It's like when we were talking yesterday, we are going over like restaurants, like what's good
Yeah.
content, what's bad content. It's like, how come every restaurant just has photos of their food
Mm-hmm.
and nothing about experience, not someone walking in, not
Yeah.
tasting the entrees or the appetizers, not returning. Like none of these things are being done.
That's because probably most restaurants hire the same photographers to come do the same awesome photos of the food, but they don't understand social doesn't work that way. It's not like
Yeah.
a traditional magazine where you're just looking through photos of good food. It's like social paid or video matters. And
Yeah.
okay, within that concept of video, what are your concepts for organic and what are your concepts for paid? They
Yeah.
should be different.
Ad for every restaurant. Don't show your food, show the experience.
Yeah.
Show the experience, not the food. Come on, guys.
Well, even also adding to that is
Yeah.
like the offer. What is the
Yeah.
why should I go there? And it doesn't always
Yeah.
have to be a discount. It could be like a
It has to, if it's a really good, for example, there's a steak restaurant here. They have really good pork chops. Funny for a steakhouse, but that's what they made their name known for.
Yeah.
So when all the buddies want to go get food, we're like, oh, they have that lunch special with the pork chop that's really good.
yeah.
They're probably losing money on the pork chop too because it is low in price. But even on the ads, they are not trying to say the cheapest pork chop in town. They're just
The
saying
best pork chop in
the
town.
best pork chop in town. Yeah.
And that gets people to become the first time customer, which then what's their client lifetime value because they might come back on the weekend with their
Yeah.
wife. And so,
And even that offer alone, instead of the cheapest but the best, the selling point is nothing to do with money. In fact, it's probably insinuating you're going to pay more,
yeah,
but you want the experience of the best pork chop.
exactly.
I got two more questions for you, and then I think that's about it.
Yeah.
What is the biggest struggle? This is going to be we have a lot of people that listen that are amazing, successful freelancers,
Yeah.
and they're just starting out the first 1 or 2 years in the agency space. Let's give the idea that everything's going well. You have your first handful of clients. You're starting to touch mid 6-figure range. What's the biggest piece of advice takeaway to focus on for those that are rising, transitioning up, that know they will hit the 7-figure range? What should they be focusing on in that transition from the first success to consistent success?
And they're by themselves pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the sacrifice you're going to have to take as a team in building a team and paying for a team and, you know, whatever, let's just say they're mid 6 figures and now they're, you know, they're taking all the profit and they're going to have to like decrease that profit in order to sacrifice for a longer term vision. That's probably one of the hardest things that a lot of freelancers fight with. It's like, but I don't want to lose money.
Yeah, I now have to pay this guy full salary starting 60K, and that's a starting salary.
And so
Yeah,
if you can swallow that pill and
Yeah.
you're cool with it, you're going to grow to the 7-figure and above, I'm sure, because at that point you're like, you understand the cost to play, right?
yeah,
if
and it's just duplicating systems technically.
yeah, exactly. But if you don't want that, stay
Yeah.
a freelancer.
Yeah.
Stay with your high amount, but you're going to work a lot more.
Yeah,
But that's what you signed up for, right? It's like,
I know a few freelancers that do quite well, make a
Yeah.
lot of money. They make actually a lot. If I was making their money, I would not still be calling myself a freelancer.
yeah.
Okay.
But they're like, that's the route they chose, right? It's like they
Yeah.
want to be more independent and not have to worry about people and not have to worry about operations and not have to worry about, you know, payroll and whatever. So it's like, good for them.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
So final thing. So you have your agency that offers services. Tell me more about what you're working on now, and kind of going into the software company aspect of it.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, I consider the agency a lifestyle business. It's for sure something that just like, you know, has given me a lot of opportunity, a lot of networking abilities, and just expanded my understanding of business in a big way where like I've had the opportunity to work with clients in different industries. And so one of them being tech, I was like, interesting. Tech is an interesting play because of the way it works. The business model doesn't work in like, we're going to live off our revenue. Sometimes it's like, hey, we're going to raise capital and we're going to build up an evaluation or we're going to sell the company or we're going to have a huge, so like, because of my experience in the agency space, I got to get exposed to different models of business. And it was for sure intriguing for me to understand, like, you can build something and sell it. Of course, you can do it with an agency too, but it's a little different, right? It's like
Yeah.
your multiples aren't the same.
Yeah.
Scalability is not the same. Operationally, the scale is not the same. So it's like I was really intrigued with tech, and I had built a tool for myself, which is called UCreate, and it's a marketplace for creators, right? Creators and influencers to connect with brands and agencies. Why did I build it? I'm an agency. I needed creators,
Yeah.
right? So it was for my own need and scratch my own itch.
Yeah.
And so I built it, a very ugly version, but it was still built and people were signing up.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, is like in the last year, the creator economy has become this hot topic. And so I was like, interesting. Two partners of mine, one of them is a client and another one his partner, were like, hey, let's do this. Let's do this and build a company. And I said, sweet. I'm super game, because like I had an idea that I wanted to do a tech company at some point. And so, yeah, man, that kind of led into now going full force into this UCreate project, which is this marketplace, now talking. And it's kind of funny because I'm learning so much that I wouldn't have learned if I just stayed in my agency lane,
Yeah.
Raising capital, talking about the product itself, marketing,
Yeah.
partnerships, like all these things, are super cool. And I love it. Like I love business, I think, more than I love digital marketing.
Yeah.
Although I love marketing because I understand the dynamics and but I really love business. I love and I've always dreamed, I always consumed Gary Vee as a young kid, for a long time. And I was like, that guy's awesome. Like, look at him just taking meetings and
Yeah.
doing business.
The fun stuff of owning your own company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the businessy stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so I like that a lot. And I'm like, cool, this is a perfect company to help me do
To
business
do that.
at a higher level.
Yeah.
And so now I'm all in now. I'm like, okay, let's do this. And so I've been loving the conversations. They're harder because I'm not, cap tables and VCs and private equity and just understanding all this stuff that I'm not native to because I'm not coming from an investment banking background. I didn't study this in college. I didn't,
Yeah.
But it's awesome because I'm learning it, being a founder in it. So it's
and it definitely helps that you've already built a successful business.
yeah. And
There's a lot of weight to that.
I also talk to people about the advantage that I have working with clients in tech and managing their ad spend or managing the creative. So to some degree, I've helped tech companies build their brands and build their businesses. So I'm pretty in a good place because I have experience building tech companies.
Yeah.
So now I come into it's my own tech company. Now I have free range to do everything that I've learned in multiple different industries. So now it's I'm pretty well positioned to say, cool, let's do this. And a shout out to my partners, man. They're great at what they do, right? One's a business attorney. He's good on the business side. The other one's a tech guy. He's done successful things in building tech companies. So I'm like, what a perfect combination you have. You're
Get the right people in place and it makes it a lot easier.
100%. I don't have to worry about the legal contracts and the negotiations, and I don't have to worry about the tech product as much, right? And so I just get to do marketing and whatever else I
develop the brand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
So it's super cool, man. I'm super blessed in that perspective. I'm like, wow, what a perfect God-given moment where I'm like, I get to do what I want.
Yeah.
And it's we'll see where it goes, man. It could go phenomenal or it could go okay. And I'm okay with either one because of what I get to do with it, right?
Exactly.
I'm all about the experience right now. So if I get to tour the world speaking on stages about UCreate, sweet. And if I make $100 from it, it's cool.
Yeah.
I got to do the business thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's UCreate in a nutshell.
I love it. Well, I've always wanted to say this. I know you have a flight to catch later today, so we'll keep it short and sweet. But I'll be in your neck of the woods this year, and we'll do a follow-up in Miami.
I might be living here soon, so
yeah. And also, we'll get you the house over here in Nashville.
I have to, man. This is beautiful.
Dude.
Appreciate all the hospitality, man. You're a great Dean. For those of you that don't know Dean, man,
I'm the best.
He's an awesome. He really is.
I can't say him. I'll go on forever about the guy. He's amazing.
He'll take you to gnarly workouts at the gym, dude. Don't go to work out with him.
Yeah, but we'll put Rob's information all linked down below, and if you want to see what he got going on, go ahead and check out the links over there. But thanks so much again, Rob. Appreciate it.
Fuck yeah, man. Appreciate it.